Power BI. In the previous session, we started with the DAX language, right? So where we saw the difference between the M language and the DAX language. So M language is used for data preparation and data transformation, and is typically used before you create and develop a data model. Whereas the DAX language or data analysis expression. So these are the predefined codes, or the predefined functions that you use for analytical data calculations, and it is used to get more information or to extract insights from your data, and is used inside or after you create a data model. So yesterday we saw how the M language works, right? It is used in the Power Query Editor formula language, right? So it is present in the formula language bar of the Power Query Editor, and DAX language is used in the data view of the Power BI. Okay. So yesterday we began with the date and time function, where we created a calendar using the calendar and date function, right? Where we specified the start date and the end date. Let me just share my screen. Yeah. So this is what we did yesterday, right? We created a table, right? We created a new table and also a column, which is essentially a calendar, right? So right now we have the rows starting from 1st of Jan 2022 till 31st of December 2022, right? So right now we have essentially created a calendar, right? Where we have specified the start date and the end date. And in our case, our calendar consists of start date, that is 1st of Jan 2022, and the end date, that is 31st of December 2022. So we have 1 year data, right? So 365 rows. Now in today's session, we will learn how to extract information from this date column using a concept called as dot notation. Okay, so right now we only have the date part, month part, and the year part. But let's say we want to find out the quarter information as well, right? In which quarter do these date, yeah, so in which dates do these quarter belong, right? So basically 1st Jan, which quarter, 9th Jan, which quarter, let's say September 4th, which quarter, right? So to find out the quarter or to extract that quarter information from the date column, we'll be using the concept called as dot notation. Now, in here, we'll be creating a new column. Okay, we'll be creating a new column called as quarter. And using the dot notation concept, we are going to extract that quarter information. Okay, so click on the new column option. Okay, so you can either be in the column tools menu and select the new column option, or you can select the table tools menu and select the new column option. Okay, so make sure to click on the new column option. So now we are going to call this new column as quarter. Okay, and the formula for the quarter, or basically the logic of how dot notation works, is that first you have to specify the name of the column. Okay, so since we are going to extract the quarter information from the date column, you have to specify the name of the column first. So how do you specify the column in DAX? You have to specify it inside square brackets, right? So type the opening square brackets, and automatically you will get a list of the columns present in this particular table. Okay, so right now we are working in the calendar table. So as soon as you type the opening square bracket, Power BI will provide you with a list of the columns present in the currently selected table, that is the calendar table. Okay, so select the date column. Now automatically the dot notation window opens here, right? It starts with a dot and then the rest of the information that you can extract. Now, if you're not able to see this, okay, if you're not able to see this dot notation window automatically, what you can do, you have to go to File. Okay, if you are not able to see that window automatically pop up, you need to make a settings change. Okay, so for that you need to go to File, Options and Settings, Options, And in the current file section, okay, in the left tab, make sure to select the data load option present in the current file section, and make sure that the auto date time option is enabled. Okay, in the time intelligence section, make sure that auto date time box is checked, or it is enabled, or it is selected. Okay, then you can click on OK. So then if you come back, once you select the date column, automatically the dot notation window opens up, right? So from this particular window, you can select which information you want to extract. And in our case, we want to extract the quarter information. So select the quarter. Okay, so select the
By
quarter.
default, by default, will it be active or we need to always go and do it?
No, so once you have that option enabled, it will stay the same. Okay, you need not make that settings change every time.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, since we wanted to determine the quarter, select the quarter option and press enter. So now the result will be in this format, right? QTR1 means quarter one. So we already know the quarters, right? There are 4 quarters in a year. So for every 3 months, the quarter changes, right? So from 1st Jan till 31st of March, it will be quarter one, right? From 1st April till 30th of June, it will be quarter two. Then from 1st July till, excuse me, from 1st July till September 30th, it will be quarter three. And from 1st October till 31st of December, it will be quarter four. Okay, so this is how you can extract more information from a date column using dot notation. Now, similar to quarter, there were other options as well, right? If you delete the quarter part and retain the dot part here, you will get all the other information that we could have extracted. So if you could, sorry. So right now we have extracted the quarter part. Now, what if you want to extract only the quarter number? Let's say only 1, 2, 3, and 4, not the QTR part, but only the number part. So if you change the quarter to quarter number and press enter, you will see the result will be only the number here, number of the quarter, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, the number of the quarter or the quarter number. And similarly, we could also extract just the month part here. Okay, so from this date column, let's say you want to extract only the month part, so you can select the month and press enter. So the names of the month will be extracted, so January, February, March, and so on. Okay, now similarly you can also extract the month number, right? Jan is the first month, Feb is the second month, March is the third month, and so on. So to extract the month number, you can select month number from the dot notation window, and the month number will be provided as the result. Okay, so this is the concept called as dot notation to extract more information from a date column. Okay, from a date column. So these are the different information that we can extract. Okay. Okay, let us come back to the quarter here. Okay, because that is what we wanted to extract, right? So let us come back to the quarter part. Okay, now this is the date and time function. Okay, now let us open the example file. Okay, so I had shared the example file yesterday, right? So make sure to open that. Okay, I'm going to open, I have already opened it. So make sure to open it. Okay, I'll give you guys 2 minutes because I think it will take at least a minute to open the file. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes. So once, yeah, so we'll let us start at 7:10. Okay, so let me just give some time for you
This
guys.
dot notation is only used for date and date related activities, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It is only applicable for a column that is of the data type date time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in today's session, we'll be working with the example file that I had shared, okay, in the group. Make sure to open that. So, and make sure to be in the data view. Okay, once you open the Power BI file, make sure to select the data view. Okay. Now we have two tables in our file here, the revenue table and the unit sold table. Now let us have a look at the data first. Okay, in the revenue table, you have the date column. Okay, the revenue of product A, revenue of product B, and the total cost. So the total cost to manufacture these two products. Okay. Now, let's say this is in rupees. Okay, since you do not have a currency specified, okay, we can assume any currency. So let us assume it is in rupees. Okay, so this is the revenue table, which has the revenue and cost information for each day. Okay, for different days here. Now, coming to the units sold table, again you have the date column. Excuse me. Again, you have the date column, units sold of product A and units sold of product B. So how many number of units were sold of product A and product B for a particular day? Okay, so that is the information present in the units sold table. And the revenue table, we have already looked at that. So we will apply some mathematical operators and mathematical functions to create new columns now. Okay. So right now we have revenue of product A, revenue of product B, and the total cost. Since we have the revenue of both product A and product B, we can calculate the total revenue, right? So we can calculate the summation of revenue of product A and revenue of product B to arrive at the total revenue. Okay. Now here we can't use the sum function. Okay, we can't use the sum function to add the values present in revenue product A and revenue product B columns. The reason is because sum function is used to add the values present in one column, right? So I will show you what happens when we use the sum function. Okay, so here we are creating a new column. So click on the new column option. Okay, in the table tools menu, click on the new column option. And let us name this new column as total revenue. Total space revenue. Okay, now if we use sum function, okay, we will not get the desired result. So let's say you use the sum function. Okay, now as soon as I specify the sum function and the opening bracket, it is asking me to specify a column name, and you can see the description of the sum function here, right? Adds all the numbers in a column. So it adds the values present in one column. So you will not be able to add the values present in two columns. Instead, it will add the values present in one column and give that as a result. Now notice here, as soon as I typed the opening bracket, Power BI gave, it automatically gave us this window where you have the table and column reference, and then, the table name and the table and column reference. So here it will give you a list. Okay, instead of you typing the table reference and the column reference, instead it provides you a list. It provides you a list where first it provides you the table name and then the table as well as column reference. Okay, so first it provides you the name of the first table, that is the revenue. Then under the revenue table, it provides the table as well as column reference, right? Revenue date, revenue, revenue product A, revenue product B, revenue total cost. Then it moves on to the next table in our file. The next table name is units sold. And under the units sold table, it will provide you the column reference, right? Units sold date, units sold product A, units sold product B. Okay, so you need not manually type the table reference along with the column reference. Power BI will automatically provide you with a list. Okay, now in yesterday's class, if you remember, I told you that it is not mandatory to use, the syntax that we saw, right? The core data syntax, the core DAX syntax, where you specify the table as well as the column reference. Now sometimes you can skip specifying the table reference. Now, in which scenario you can skip the table reference? Now we are working in the revenue table, right? We are inside the revenue table and we are creating a new column in the revenue table itself. So when you are working in the same table and you are calculating a column, or when you're creating a new column in the same table or in the currently selected table, you can skip the table reference. Okay, you can directly go ahead and specify the column reference. Okay, so now Our job is to add the values present in product A revenue and product B revenue. Now we cannot use the sum function because if I select sum function, let's say I select the sum function and select the revenue of product A column here. Now here it is only allowing me to select only one column. Even if I specify comma, it is showing an error here, right? You can see that there is an error, unexpected parameter. So if I just close the brackets now, okay, if I close the brackets and press enter, the result will be the addition of all the values present in revenue of product A. So all the rows will contain the same value, that is 19,800. So 19,800 is the addition of all the values present in the revenue of product A column. Okay, so that is why we cannot use the sum function. Okay, so sum function is applicable only if you want to add the values in a single column, okay, in one column. So right now we have to add the values present in two columns, right? We need the result where 1061 plus 436 will be the first row as the result, okay? Then 1453 plus 317 should be the result in the second row and so on. So for that, instead of using the sum function, we can use the mathematical operator plus, right? So now our formula will look like this. Okay. Now here, I'm not going to specify the table reference. Okay. I'm going to skip the table reference. The reason is because we are creating a new column in the currently selected table. So it is not it is not mandatory to use that table reference. Okay. So you can right away select the column reference. Now, how can I specify the column reference? Using the square brackets, right? So type the opening square bracket and automatically you will get a list of all the columns present in the currently selected table. So right now we are in the revenue table. Hence you get a list of the columns present in the revenue table. So first select the revenue of product A column, then using the mathematical operator plus, okay, specify the plus and select the revenue of product B. Okay, this is the formula now. Okay, so now we can go ahead and press enter on the keyboard. So now we have added the values present in revenue of product A and revenue of product B for each day. Okay, for each date here. So 1061 plus 436, 1497. You can just cross verify. Okay, for a couple of values. Okay, so 1009 plus 458. It should be 1467. Okay, so now we have calculated the total revenue by adding the values present in revenue of product A column and revenue of product B column using the mathematical operator plus. Okay, so this is how you can add the values present in two or more columns. So right now we had to add values in two columns, so we specified only two columns. Let's say there was a revenue of product C also, so then you would have added another plus symbol and specified the third column here. Okay, so since we only have product A and product B, we used only one mathematical operator, that is the plus symbol here. Okay, now we have the total revenue, that is a calculated column, okay, where we added the values present in revenue of product A and revenue of product B. So now we have the total revenue and the total cost also, right? So we have calculated the total revenue and the total cost was already present. So if we have the total revenue and total cost, we can calculate the profit margin, right? So we have the total revenue, we have the total cost. So we can calculate the profit margin for each date or basically for each row here. So can anyone tell me the formula for profit margin? You can type it in the chat or you can mention in the call. So what is the formula for profit margin? Profit margin equals what?
Total
What is
revenue
the
minus
formula?
total cost.
Sorry?
Total revenue minus total cost.
Yeah, first half is correct. There is another, you left another part of the formula. Total revenue minus total cost, yes, but there is another part to that formula.
Divided by total cost into 100.
No, it is total revenue. Okay, so the formula is total revenue, okay, total revenue minus total cost divided by total revenue. I mean, into 100 also you can do, but we already have this option where we can convert the result to a percentage, right? So let us not specify the 100. Okay, so the formula for profit margin is total revenue minus total cost divided by total revenue. Or another way of specifying the formula, we can change it a little bit. So can anyone tell me another formula here? So this is the regular formula here. Or another way of putting the same, or another way of specifying the same formula is 1 minus total cost divided by total revenue. Right. So when you specify it in this format, you cross multiply, right? So this will be the denominator, total revenue will be the denominator. So you cross multiply it with 1, so you get total revenue minus total cost, and the denominator remains the same, right? So instead of putting it in this particular way, total revenue minus total cost divided by total revenue, you can instead specify this in format, right? 1 minus total cost divided by total revenue. Okay, you can use either formulas here. Okay, you can use any of the two formulas, but we will use the second formula, okay, so that it is less typing. Okay, yeah. So this is the formula for profit margin, 1 minus total cost divided by total revenue. Okay. So here again, we'll be creating a new column called as profit margin. So select the new column option. Okay. Select the new column option. So we are going to call this column as profit margin. So here the formula is 1 minus inside the brackets. Okay. Inside the brackets, you have to specify. Okay. Now we have specified the brackets. The next step is to specify the column reference. Okay. So to specify the column reference, square brackets, right?
And how do we add new columns? We go to the column.
So if you are selecting a particular column, then the column tools menu will be visible. If you have not
Okay.
selected any column, you can go to the table tools menu.
Okay.
Okay, not sure. Okay, oh here, okay, I'm typing the formula here. That's why it's not allowing me to go. Yeah, if you're in the table tools menu, you can select new column.
New column. Okay.
Yeah, there are two options. Either you can select the new column in table tools, or you can go to column tools and select new column. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So here our formula is 1 minus total cost divided by total revenue. And you can close the bracket. Okay, so this is the formula for profit margin. 1 minus inside the round brackets, you specify the numerator and the denominator. The numerator is total cost and the denominator is the total revenue. Okay, now we can go ahead and press enter. So now you get the result in this particular format, the decimal format here, 0.65, 0.71, 0.68, and so on. Now we know that profit margin is always in percentages, right? So we can change the format of the profit margin values here from decimal numbers to percentages. So how you can do that? Select the profit margin table, sorry, profit margin column, and you have this formatting section here, right? And in that, there are two ways to convert a particular number to a percentage. First, you can either click on the percentage symbol here. So what it does, it displays the values in this column in percentages, or you can use this drop down menu, right? You can use the format drop down menu to select the percentage here. Okay, both will result in the same answer. Okay, you can either access the drop down menu and select percentage, or you can simply click on this percentage symbol here. Okay. So now we have the result in percentages, right? 65.73, 71.69%, 68.25%, and so on. Now, there is a problem in this formula, or there is a limitation of using this particular formula here. Now, the limitation is with respect to the mathematical operator divide. Okay. Now, what exactly is that limitation is? If we have 0 or blank, either in the numerator or the denominator columns, let's say, I mean, right now we don't have 0 or blank values, right? in any of the rows in either the total cost or the total revenue columns. Let's say if we have 0 or blank in either the total cost or the total revenue columns, then for that particular row, the result will be an error because the mathematical operator divide is a simple operator, right? So it doesn't consider 0 or blank in the formula. So if you have 0 or blank in either the numerator or the denominator, you will get the result as error for that particular row. Now to account for the 0 or the blank, right? So what if there is a blank or 0 in either the numerator or the denominator? You need to account for it. Instead of an error, you can specify what should be the result. Now, in this case, we can't do that here, right? We don't have an option to specify the result if there is a 0 or a blank in either the total cost or the total revenue column. So for that purpose, instead of using the mathematical operator divide, we can use the mathematical function divide. Okay, we can specify the function instead of the operator. Okay, now the formula will be changed or the formula will be updated. Okay, so you can retain the 1 minus part here. Okay, now the formula will be 1 minus inside the round brackets. You specify the mathematical function divide. Okay, so you specify divide. Okay, and then inside the round brackets again, here you have to specify the numerator, the denominator, and the alternate result. So here you can see here, right? Safe divide function with ability to handle divide by 0 case. So in case there is a 0 or in case there is a blank in either the numerator or the denominator, you have the freedom or you have the option to specify what should be the result. I know the result will be, 0 only because 0 divided by a denominator or any value is 0. And if you divide something by 0, I mean, you can argue that it is infinity, right? But let's not go to that. So you can specify what should be the result if either the numerator or the denominator is a 0. In the previous case where we used the mathematical operator divide, we did not have that option, right? So the divide operator doesn't account for the 0 or it does not take into account the 0 or the blank value. So you will get error as the result. But in this case, we have an option to specify what should be the result if there is a 0 in either the numerator or the denominator. Okay, so the numerator now is total cost, right? So you specify total cost. Then after the comma, you specify the denominator, right? First you specify the numerator, then after the comma, you specify the denominator. And the denominator in our case is total revenue. Okay, then again after the second comma, you specify the alternate result. The alternate result meaning if there is a blank or 0 in either the numerator or the denominator, what should be the result displayed as? So let it be displayed as 0 only. Okay, now we don't have 0 or blank values, but let's say there were or there might be in the future. Okay, so you can specify the alternate result as 0 and close the bracket. Now you can go ahead and press enter. So the advantage of using the mathematical function divide instead of using the mathematical operator, the slash symbol, is that the divide function takes into account the 0 or blank values in either the numerator or the denominator column, and it lets the user decide what should be the result, okay, in that particular case. Okay, so right now we have instructed Power BI that if there is a blank or 0 value in total cost or the total revenue column, display the result as 0. Okay, instead of getting an error as the value, you will get 0 as the profit margin value here. Okay, so here you will get the same result here. Okay, the result doesn't change for us because we do not have 0 or blank values, right, in either the total cost or the total revenue column. So you'll get the same result. Okay, now let us move on to the next function, that is the logical function, that is if. Okay, we'll be using if else logic to create a new column. Okay, now we have already done that. Remember when we created the category column in the dim age table. Just a minute, guys, just a minute. So we had already created that conditional column called as category, where we applied the if else logic on the age group max column, right? So if age group max is less than or equal to 4, then we call that category as baby. If it is less than or equal to 14, we call it as a child, and so on, right? So similar to that, we'll be creating a new column based on the if else condition. Okay, so this is a logical function in part in the Dax language. Okay, if else condition. So here we'll be creating a new column called as day rating. Okay, day rating, and the day rating will be based on the profit margin. Okay, so we will set a limit, or we will set a target if profit margin is greater than, let's say, 67%. Okay, let's keep the target, or let's keep the threshold at 67%. So if profit margin is greater than 67%, we will call it as a good day. If it is not, or else, okay, the else part comes now. So the else part is as good as if profit margin is less than 67%. Okay, so if it is less than 67%, we are going to call it as a bad day. Okay, so we are going to apply the if else condition or that logical test on the profit margin column and decide on the result. Okay, so here again, we'll be creating a new column. Okay, so click on the new column option, and we are going to call this new column as day rating. Okay, day space rating. So here we'll be using the logical function if. Okay, so you can select the if function. Now here, read the description. Okay, checks whether a condition is met and returns one value if true and another value if false. So here first we need to specify the logical test or the condition. So the condition or the logical test we'll be specifying will be if profit margin is greater than 67%. So here first we need to specify the column name. So the column name is profit margin. So you specify it using the opening bracket, square bracket, and select the profit margin if it is greater than. Okay. Now inside a formula, you cannot specify 67% as it is. That is, you cannot use the percentage symbol, right? It will be an unexpected symbol or an unexpected parameter. Now you can see that, right? 67%, it is giving me an error, and that error is unexpected expression. So you cannot specify it in percentages, right? Like this. You have to specify it in decimals. So 67% in decimals is 0.67, right? So you just divide 67 by 100. That's it. So you specify 67% as 0.67. Okay. So if profit margin is greater than 67%, that is the logical test here. Then you specify a comma. So after the comma, you specify what should be the result if the condition is met or if the logical test is true. So we are going to call it as a good day. And since good day is a text data, right? So good day are all alphabets, right? GOOD space DAY. So it is a text data. So whenever you specify a text data in a Dax formula, you have to specify it inside double quotes. Okay. So you specify good day in double quotes. Okay. Like this. Okay. Then after the comma, you specify the result if false. So what should be the result if this condition is not met? What if profit margin is less than 67%? Then what should be the result specified as? So we are going to call this as a bad day and close the bracket. Okay. So here we are creating a new column called as day rating, where we are using the if else condition. And the condition is that if profit margin is greater than 67%, we are categorizing it as a good day, else we are calling it as a bad day. Okay, the else part is as good as if profit margin is less than 67%. Okay, now we can go ahead and press enter. So here we can see the results, right? For the first row, the profit margin was 65.73. So it is less than 67%. Bad day. Then 71.69. It is greater than 67%. A good day, and so on. So here in this if statement or in this if condition, you can specify only two categories. Okay. Well, one, what if the result is true? And the second is basically what should be the result if the condition is not met, or the result if false part. Now let's say you are asked to include another category called as an average day. Okay. And the logical test or the condition for a day to be considered as an average day is if the profit margin lies between 67% and 63%. Okay. If the profit margin lies between 63% and 67%, we are going to call it as an average day. Now, how can we include it in this particular statement? So for that purpose, just a minute, guys. So here we only have the option to include result if true and result if false part. So only two categories. Now let's say we also want to include an average day category, that is the third category, for which the condition is profit margin should lie between 63% and 67%. Then you can call it as an average day. Now, how can we include it in this particular formula? So for that purpose, we'll be using a nested if function. So nested if function means we specify one if function inside another if function. So that is called as a nested function, or in our case, it is called as a nested if function. So we'll be specifying one if function inside another if function. Okay. Now the updated formula will look like this. So basically till the good day part, the formula remains the same. Okay. So till the highlighted part. Okay. So whatever part I have highlighted, that part of the formula remains the same. Okay. Now after the comma, we specify another if function. Okay. So after the comma, okay, specify the another if function as follows. Okay. If Now the logical test will be if profit margin is greater than 63%. Okay. Now I'll explain the logic. Okay. Let me just type the formula first. So if profit margin is greater than 0.63, okay, then categorize it as an average day. Else we are going to call this as a bad day. And we can add another formula here. Now the logic of how this formula works is Power BI goes through each row one by one. Okay, it goes through these values one by one, and it also goes through the first if condition first. Okay, so first it goes through this logical test. If profit margin is greater than 67%, we are going to call this as a good day. Now the first row profit margin is 65.73%. So this condition is not met. Okay, so this condition is not met. Then it goes on to the second condition. If profit margin is greater than 63%. Yes, 65.73 is greater than 63%. So it categorizes as an average day, right? So once it goes through the first condition, it keeps it in its memory. Okay. Right now, this condition was not met. Okay. 67%, 65.73% was not greater than 67%. Hence, this condition is not met. And since we have specified another condition here, right, there is a second if condition. So it moves on to the second if condition, keeping in mind the first condition. Yeah, because if it doesn't keep in mind the second condition, it can overrule this first condition, right? Because 63 if the condition here is that if profit margin is greater than 63%. In our case, 65.73 is greater than 63%. But it is not considering it as a good day here. The reason is because the first condition is if profit margin is greater than 67%, then call it as a good day. Right now, the first row doesn't match the first condition here. So it moves on to the second condition where we are saying if profit margin is greater than 63%, then call it as an average day. So here it forms the range, right? Because the first condition is still in its memory. So it forms a range. Now the range will be greater than 63% and lesser than 67%. So it is a range. Okay. There is a range created now for the average day categorization. So if the profit margin lies between 63% and 67%, it will be categorized as an average day. Now the else part for the bad day. Okay. sorry, we went to the old formula here. I don't know what happened. Uh, um, okay, okay. Let me just type it out. I don't know what happened. Uh, yeah. So once the first condition is not satisfied, it moves on to the second condition. And the second condition is saying if profit margin is greater than 63%, then call it as an average day, else call it as a bad day. So the condition for the bad day is now if the profit margin is less than 63%. Okay, so this is how you can include a third category, third category called as average day using the nested if function. So right now we have used this if function, right? We have used this if function inside this if function, right? So this becomes the first if condition and this becomes the nested if condition. Okay, so now when you press enter, the results will change. Okay, so for the average day, the profit margin should lie between 63% and 67%. Okay, you can also include the equal here. Okay, I forgot about the equal. Okay, so here you can see that 65.73 is considered as an average day because it lies between 63 and 67%. Then coming to a bad day. So bad day is the profit margin which is less than 63%. Okay, so since 61.89 is less than 63, it is considered as a bad day. Okay, so this is how you can use the nested if function to have a third category. Okay, to have a third category. So because if you use only one if condition, there are only two categories that you can specify, right? Result if true and result if false. Now to include the third category, you can use the nested if function in this particular manner. Okay, so this is the nested if function. Okay, because this if function is specified inside this if function. Okay, so when you use one function inside another function, it is called as a nested function. Okay, guys, give me a minute. I'll have a sip of water. Yeah. So this is how you can use the nested function to basically arrive at the desired result here. Okay, so now we have three categories: good day, average day, and bad day. Okay, now we will learn the next function called as related function. Okay, we will learn about related function. Now, what we can do, we can open the DAX reference now. Okay, to learn a little bit about the related function. So you can open your browser and access the DAX reference. Now we don't know under which function does the DAX, under which function the related function comes, right? Whether it's an information function, filter function, logical function, we don't know that. Okay, let's say we don't know under which function does the related function come. So what you can do, you can go to DAX function reference and you can search in the left search bar here. Okay, in the left part of the screen, you can see a search bar here, right? You can search the related function here. You can just type related and you can see that there is a function called as related here and you can select it. Okay, so here you can see that the related function comes under the relationship function. Okay, the related function comes under the relationship function. So it returns a related value from another table. Okay, you can see all the details for that particular function here. So we are learning the related function. It is under the relationship function. Okay, So what is the description of the related function? It says returns a related value from another table. Okay. So you can see the description here. Okay. Now the related function will be used if you want to calculate, if you want to calculate something using columns from another table. Okay. So let us come back to our data set here. Okay. So here we have two tables, right? The revenue table and the unit sold table. So in the unit sold table, you have three columns: date, unit sold product A, and unit sold product B. Now our requirement is that we need to create the total units sold, okay, total units sold, not in the unit sold table, okay, but in the revenue table. So we'll be creating a new column called as total units sold in the revenue table using the columns present in the units sold table. So we will be adding units sold of product A and units sold of product B and having the result, or basically having the new column in the revenue table. So here what we are doing, we are using columns in units sold table to create a new column in the revenue table, right? We are using columns in one table and creating a new column in another table. So we need to use the related function, okay, because related function, it returns the related value from another table. It means using the related function, we can use columns in one table and calculate a new column in another table. Okay, that is what we are going to do. So we are going to calculate the total units sold in the revenue table using the columns present in the units sold table. Okay, so we can create a new column now. Okay, so make sure to be in the revenue table, okay, and create a new column. Now here, let us call this new column as total units sold. Okay. Now here you can say that we can directly specify the columns, right? Now you can try that. Okay. If I specify the column reference by typing the square bracket, you only get a list of columns present in the revenue table. Or there is another way. You can say that we can first specify the table reference, right? So to specify the table reference, you can type the square bracket, sorry, the round brackets, and let's say the name of the table is units sold. Units sold. Okay. And then you can specify the column reference, right? Units sold product A. It's not working. It's saying cannot find name units sold product A. The reason is because, can anyone tell me why we are not able to find even when we specify the table reference here?
Because there is no table, I mean, no column with the name unit sold product.
Uh, it is part right. Okay, so right now we are working in the revenue table, but I told you that we can specify the table reference. But even though we specified the table reference and the column reference, we are not able to basically find that particular column. The reason is because, again, we'll come back to relationships. There is no relationship established between the revenue and the unit sold column. Okay, so if we go to the model view, okay, let us change the view now. Let us click on the model view now. Okay, this will result in an error, not an issue. Okay, now if we go to the model view here, there is no relationship, right? There is no relationship between revenue or the unit sold table. So now first we need to establish the relationship and then use the related function. Okay, now you could also say that we could directly use the related function, right? We can say related. Okay, and here you can specify the column name. Now here, if we specify the column name, it is not giving me an option at all, right? Even though even if I specify the column name manually, right? Units sold product A. Sorry, it's still not showing the result, right? It's still giving me an error. Cannot find name units sold product A. The reason is because we have not established any kind of relationship between revenue and units sold. So that is why it is important to establish relationship before you either go to the DAX part or the data visualization part. Okay, so this is why establishing relationships is very, very important. Okay, otherwise you can perform only a limited number of activities. Okay, so let us now establish the relationship between revenue and units sold. So here the first step is to identify the matching column. Right, the matching column in the revenue and units sold table is the date column, right? So you already know how to establish the relationship, right? So you can do that. So you drag date column from one table and drop it on top of the date column in the other table. So here a one-to-one relationship will be established. Can anyone tell me why it is a one-to-one relationship?
Because it is total units sold. So total units sold is total of product A plus product.
No. So right now we have used the date column to establish the relationship. Okay. So it has so Power BI has established a one-to-one relationship. Now this is the correct cardinality. But why it has established a one-to-one? Can anyone tell me? So I'll go back to the date.
There is no
Dates
origin
are unique.
columns.
Yeah, I heard unique. Someone told me. Could you repeat that?
Dates are unique.
Exactly, right. Even in the, if you come back to the data view, you can see that in the revenue table, the date values are unique, right? 1st of Jan, 2nd of Jan, 3rd of Jan, and so on. And even in the units sold table, the dates are unique, right? There are no repetitions of each date. 1st of Jan is specified only once. 2nd of Jan is specified only once. 3rd of Jan is specified only once, right? These are all unique dates. Okay, these are all unique dates. So that is why it is a one-to-one relationship. Okay, now we can come back to the data view and create our column. Okay, so we can go
So
back to the total.
because each date is there only once, it is one to one. Is it?
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Okay, now we can use the related function. Okay, so now if we specify the formula here. So now as soon as I use the related function and type the square in the opening bracket, now it is giving me a list of columns present in the other table. Okay, so this is the feature of related function. So whenever you use the related function, it only gives you a list of the columns present in the other table. And that is what you can see here, right? First, it provides you the name of the table and then table as well as the column reference. And now in our case, we want to add the values present in product unit sold of product A and unit sold of product B. So our formula will look like this. Okay, so related units sold product A. Okay, then close the bracket. Then using the mathematical operator plus, then again we'll be using the related function. Okay, so related. Then you specify the second column now, that is units sold of product B, and close the bracket. So here using the related function, we are adding the units sold of product A column present in units sold table and units sold of product B column present in the units sold B table. Okay, using the related function. So related function is used to use the columns present in another table. Okay, when you want to calculate something in an existing table or in one table. Okay, now you can go ahead and press enter. So now we get the result. Now let us check the values once. Okay, so the first row, it is saying the value is 107. So if we go to the units sold table, 96 plus 11 is 107. 97 plus 11 is 108. So we can go back and check the data, right? 108. So all the values are correct. Okay, you can just check randomly. Okay, so this is how you can use the related function to calculate a column in one table using the columns present in another table. And that is what we did, right? We calculated the total units sold column present in the revenue table, where we used the columns units sold of product A and units sold of product B that were present in the unit sold table. Okay, so first, even though we used the related function, we could not specify the formula because we were getting an error because Power BI could not find the unit sold product A column, even though we specified the related function. The reason being we had not established the relationship between revenue and the unit sold table. So first we established a one-to-one relationship between unit sold and revenue using the date as the matching column. Then we
I
could
just have one doubt, Anaga. Can I?
yeah, please go ahead.
Can you go to that model view?
Yeah.
Can we not have established a relationship between total units sold and one-to-many relationship between units sold product A and product B?
No. So the total units sold is a calculated column. So we did not have this column. Okay. So this is a new column that we created.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is why we cannot select this. And this is not a matching column also, right? So total units sold is an addition of product A and product B. So you
Yes.
cannot use this. It should
Okay.
be a single column.
Okay. So every time it should be a single column.
Yes, absolutely. And it should be the value should be same. When you take units sold, total units sold, and either the units sold of product A or product B, the values will not be matching, right? Yeah. So the matching column values should be the same when you want to establish a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Look like a VLOOKUP, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. It is sort of VLOOKUP. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It is VLOOKUP. Yes. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So now we have used a related function to calculate a new column in revenue table using the columns present in the units sold table. Okay, so this is how you can use the related function. Okay, okay guys, we can stop for today and reconvene again tomorrow at